Nvidia is consuming all of Nevada's juices to power the giant orb. My favorite AMD GPU has arrived, and Intel, you've got a lot of explaining to do. Wow. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your Brett host. We're going to be going over the hottest tech news that I can find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast this Friday, July 12th, 2024. Or as all the non-Americans keep complaining, the 12th of July, 2024. Does that make you happy? You feeling good about that? I know what could lift your spirits, getting to stare at a giant monstrosity that's just millions of LEDs right inside your eyeball, burning them ablaze with 28 megawatts of power. And that's exactly what's happening with the Sphere that is over in Las Vegas. We got to see it when we went out to CES, and it turns out, according to a new blog by Nvidia, they're the ones who are powering it. You want to know how the 16 by 16K display gets all of its video information? It's Nvidia inside with 150 RTX A6000 GPUs. This big old giant ball of consumer enthusiasm is 17 acres of screen and all Nvidia powered. It's a triple layer 16K display that can do 60 FPS and only has 5 milliseconds of latency. Goodness. All of these technical details again coming out of an Nvidia blog, but it has roughly 4 petabytes of flash memory at 400 gigabytes per second. Additionally, when you tally up those 150 A6000s, you get 1.6 million CUDA cores, 7.2 terabytes of GDDR6 memory, and a maximum alleged power draw of roughly 45 kilowatts just for the GPUs. We're not talking about the entire screen. That's roughly 28 megawatts. And it's enough to just make you go, wow. Wow, that's a bright screen. Whether you see it during the daytime or at night, it is illuminating. Very much so. Let me know if you've seen the Las Vegas Sphere. Let me know if you had even considered what GPUs were running it, because I had not until Nvidia decided to claim ownership over all of it. But while Nvidia is bringing us the future over in Las Vegas, Tesla is delaying their future because they were supposed to announce the new vehicle that's going to be their Robotaxi with their full self-driving. It was supposed to happen in just a few weeks on August 8th. Turns out, future's not ready yet for Tesla, and so it's getting delayed until October because that's just how it works with Elon and all of this full self-driving stuff. It's ready, but oh, nope, we're not ready yet, so we're just gonna have to delay it a little bit. It's now being delayed allegedly, so the team has more time to build additional prototypes because it's not ready. It's not ready. It's not real. It's not something that the company is capable of, regardless of how much Elon wants to convince you that it's a AI and robotics company. The cars can't drive themselves very well. And I don't know if Reece can drive himself very well. I get scared to be in the same vehicle if he's in the driver's seat. But he can drive you to some deals today.
Yo, welcome back to UFD Deals, bringing the hottest tech deals out on the internet. Happy Friday, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well and, deals. Starting off today, we have this NZXT MXL 900 Starfield mousepad. I'm not the biggest fan of the game, but the Starfield merch goes hard, and you can pick this up for only $9.99, making it $30 off. But then next up, we have this Asus TUF Gaming 24-inch 1080p 165Hz gaming monitor for only $99.99, making it $60 off. And then lastly, we have the Sony WH-1000 XM4 wireless noise cancelling headphones. You can pick up a refurbished pair for only $149.99, making it $50 off. These are my daily drivers. I use them all day, every day, and I highly recommend. And them's the deals. You can find these and more linked in the video description down below. But until next time, I'm gonna hand you off back to Brett for the rest of your hot news. Cheers.
Well, Reece, my favorite AMD GPU has a deal, and that is it's on sale now, at least according to all of these reports, that the Frostpunk 2 RX 7700 XT is now on sale. It's available through select retailers as of yesterday. That's when all the articles came out. Look at this beautiful GPU. The only question I have is, then how did I buy it like 2 weeks ago and it got delivered 2 days ago? I've had this in the office. Sapphire doesn't send us review samples. I bought this off of Newegg. Frostpunk's one of my favorite games. I delight in it so much, and when I saw that there was a collaborative GPU, I decided that I had to have it. And you might be thinking to yourself, Brett, did you get a good deal on it where you get the game included? The answer is no. You don't get the game with it. It's just the design of the backplate and kind of the rest of the GPU. However, you also do get 3 custom keycaps that say FP and 2 for Frostpunk 2, and then there's also 3 enamel pins include in this. We'll likely put it into a PC build and then give it away at some point because I don't really need a 7700 XT, but I like the design. I think I'm going to enjoy building a PC for it for Frostpunk 2, which was supposed to come out like this month. That's why the GPU's available, is because this was the time it was supposed to happen, but then they delayed it last week or 2 weeks ago. Now it's coming out in September, so that's fun. I'm sure Sapphire is really happy that the game got delayed. This is very cohesive. But speaking of things that are, discombobulated and non-cohesive, let's talk about Intel's 14900K and 13900K instability issues. Yes, let's get back to that because Intel was allegedly working on it. They said that by the end of May, they were going to start trying to push out a BIOS update that was going to fix it, or at least they wanted motherboard vendors really working on it. That came and went with not a whole lot of public communication, and now we've got multiple new events that have happened, not from Intel's side, but from journalists. So talking firstly about level 1 text. They, specifically Wendell, released a video a couple days ago talking about just the big controversy that's going on behind the scenes with game developers with regards to the 13th and 14th gen high-end CPUs not working. So I highly encourage you to go watch this 24-minute video. It is super informative, but let me break it down to you in a simple fashion because there's more news than just what Wendell had in that video. So essentially, these CPUs are crashing, which is a big problem for game developers because it's making it look like the games are unstable. But then additionally, game developers are actually running some of their servers using workstation motherboards with the 13900K and 14900K because of the high single core clock speed and single core performance. So that makes it very good for game servers, except for the fact that they are becoming unstable, making it very difficult for them to depend on Intel. With Wendell saying that he's talked to multiple game dev teams behind the scenes, and when it comes to companies that service these servers, they are charging $1,000 more to service an Intel system than an AMD system because of the high precedence of these servers actually breaking down and having severe problems. So a lot of game devs are now potentially deploying 7950X systems because they have roughly the same amount of performance, but not the same amount of bugs. And then also the service calls for them are about $1,000 cheaper. So they are saving a lot of money, having higher uptime, and not running into as many issues. With one game developer telling Wendell that this has potentially cost them up to $100,000 in revenue, not just from servers going down, but then also their clientele who are playing these games thinking that the game is buggy because the 13900K and 14900K systems are crashing the game, blue screening, making it look like it's the game's fault, and so these game devs are actually losing customers because of this. So based on all of the digging that Wendell did, it appears that roughly half of the Intel CPUs that are experiencing this instability can be fixed by just doing some BIOS tweaking, which has been kind of the method that Intel has gone so far, just releasing a few thermal velocity boost patches and making it so that it's a little easier to tweak. But then there's this other half that actually has hardware faults, where the only solution seems to be that you actually have to have the CPU replaced. Except for the fact that now Hardware Times is reporting that Intel is potentially denying RMAs for various different chips that are actually experiencing this issue. They're quoting one particular customer who had a 13900KF that is experiencing these issues, and then despite the fact that Intel initially promised for the customer to get a refund, they ended up denying the RMA request because it happened on a second unit and they didn't want to replace it a second time. Despite the fact that this is a well-known problem that's been publicly documented, they are having issues getting their chip replaced. So it looks like Intel's having problems not just with users, but also with game developers. This is costing them on the server level. This is costing users frustration in their ability to play their games. They don't have an actual ability to have this patched out yet, even though this has been going on for months. People have been talking about this for months. We've been discussing it here on Hot News for a long time, and it seems to have reached a completely unacceptable point. If there are reports of RMAs being denied, this has to stop. Intel, just speaking bluntly, you need to come out and have a public statement saying that you do not condone this and that you will replace whatever CPUs are being faulty and buggy due to this issue, especially when you've not given any public communication with regards to to when a BIOS patch is going to be available, if at all that's actually going to happen, and what the real solution is going to be. If you're not going to provide a solution, you need to provide your customers with the peace of mind that when they run into this problem, because it appears to be a when and not if for most 13900K and 14900K owners, that when this happens, you have their backs. Otherwise, the 9950X is launching in a couple weeks, and you're probably going to lose a lot of high-end clientele. This is not looking good for Intel. The communication has been sparse, the communication has not been clear, and it needs to change. The fact that there is a problem can be addressed for some users, it can't be addressed for others, so there needs to be peace of mind from Intel here, and it doesn't appear to be that this is an issue with the architecture. Alder Lake's working just fine, 12900K is totally fine, it's the 13900K and 14900K that are having the issues. Usually when we discuss this, a lot of people come out and they're like, hey, is my i7 fine? It appears like this is only affecting the i9 chips on 13th and 14th gen. If you're on i7 for either of those generations, at least as of right now, it doesn't appear like you're having any issues. But Intel needs to come out and say, hey, if you're having these instability issues, we've got you covered no matter what. Again, go check out Level 1 Tech's video about this. They detail all of the error rates that are happening, the precedent of this happening. It's very clear that this is affecting the high-end 13th and 14th gen Intel CPUs, and that Intel needs to come out with a strong public statement reassuring their customers, because this is not looking good for them and is kind of unacceptable at this point. And I want to see if you guys accept me, which is why I read your comments. So let's go to yesterday's episode. Over on Floatplane, we got Kryptonite saying, keep complaining about the horrible naming schemes. Companies deserve it for using AI, dropping I, etc. See, I could read that in two ways. One is affirming, you say, hey, keep complaining. I'm here supporting you in your complaining. Or it could be, keep complaining, bud. See what happens. I could take it either way, and my insecurities leading me to take it one way over another one. Then, over on YouTube, you guys really just wanted to harp on Nvidia not providing a lot of value. Necro saying, Nvidia is breathing speed. Is that before or after the board cracks under the weight of the cooler and the GPU is pulled off the board and destroys the pads and the silly power connector catches fire? I don't have a name saying, can't wait to run my GPU on a separate breaker from the rest of my system. Then you got CJ saying, who's ready for Nvidia's ridiculous prices on the 5000 series cards? And then Ferber saying, Nvidia is bringing speed. Too bad they forgot to bring value. Oh, you guys, you don't like Nvidia? Hey. And then Dean saying, Brett, to answer your question, I've heard you vent about the new AMD and Intel chip nomenclatures for months now. The video card slide showing the comma-separated list of model numbers is what finally triggered me. Your army against bad nomenclature is growing. +1. Hey, Dean, welcome aboard. Glad to have you here. Then we got Harley saying, why is the escape key orange? It's because it's like a blue and orange and white proto-art keyboard. It's just the vibe, man. It's just for fun. That's why. And then we got Chortle saying, shorten the Ultra to just you, Core U9 285K, or just keep saying the I anyway. I've considered this problem, and I have discovered, at least in my mind, why I actually dislike the U9 situation, U7, U5. It's because of how my tongue has to form in order to say each of these vowels. U requires my tongue, you to go to the front of my mouth, whereas my tongue doesn't really move a whole lot, and then to pivot into saying a number, I9, I7, I5, U9, U7, U5. My tongue has to move in a way where it's moving more to say U. It's just worse. It's just, linguistically, I struggle to do this. If I went A9, it's just as easy. So I could call it A9, A7, A5. We could shorten it like that, and then just make the U sound the Core A9, when Intel sponsors our video where that happens, they're not going to let me say that, so I'll have to say Ultra, but for right now, the Core A9 285K, that's what I'm sticking with, and I'm not sticking with you any longer. Go have a weekend.